Okay, we're live. Hi.
Hi,
I feel like I just saw you recently.
hi. Feels so long ago.
Yeah, so y- you came to
Mm.
visit and we did the thing together and we ended up doing a podcast because we were so tired every day,
Yeah,
right?
it's intense. Also
Yeah.
because
It's like,
they're young and they've questions and yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like quite demanding.
Mm-mm.
Uh, which is actually our topic of conversation this
Mm.
week, since it's fresh in our mind. Um, so we're going to talk about kind of what happened and also because it's sort of is a we're also assessing our own work, right? We're got assess their work, but we're also assessing like, you know, this was a slightly different demographic,
Yeah.
uh, quite specific in some ways because they were teenagers. Actually, they were a little younger than I thought they were going to be. I just thought, I thought they were like school leaver age, like 16, 17,
I
but
mean
they were actually,
they were 16, 17. But you also have 15-year-olds.
there were a lot of 15. There were a lot of 15 and 16-year-olds. So that was quite surprising. And then, we had to sort of reconfigure the program. So I, that part of it, I was happy with that we could actually reconfigure. We done it for children, so to speak, under
Mm.
12, 7 to 12, and now
Yeah,
we're doing it for teenagers, and
yeah,
we're able to sort of manipulate it into a space that is quite demanding for them. When we did the wrap up,
yeah,
a lot of them are like, I didn't know about this. So there's a lot of things in there that people just don't know.
yeah,
And and also my big thing in how I put it together is I really want them to be able to look at it from a holistic big picture view, putting it all together because I don't like the way these things are taught to
yeah,
children and students. It's very piecemeal.
yeah, yeah.
So they don't understand like how it fits into the big picture and how
Mm.
only when you only when you thread it together the right way do you make really good choices.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so then it's so then it started, they arrived and I was quite blown away by their language ability.
Mm.
Um and basically because they are Rohingya children, right? So they're almost all of them came to Malaysia when they were about 5 years old with their
Yeah,
parents.
yeah.
So first of all, uh,
It is a
pretty
journey.
serious stuff. Pretty
Yeah,
serious stuff. They're on the boat for 28 days.
yeah,
They saw people die. I asked them, you know, so there, somewhere in there, there's this, they have these issues, that they're dealing with too. And then, we get the program, and later we will talk about what we talked about with Sarai because I thought that was quite an interesting conversation. We had
yeah,
Sarai being the one that runs that school. And so what we discover is actually this program is a pathway not only to university, but to citizenship in another country, which happens to be Philippines. You know,
yeah. So
so
you're talking about what the education track that they're on, where they have to
yeah, I
qualify.
mean there's no other track in Southeast Asia. This is the only one available, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's not
They
our program. It is the program that they are undergoing. Yeah,
Philippines.
yeah.
Funnily enough, actually started by Du- is it
Duterte.
Duterte or
Yeah,
yeah, who you thought was a horrible evil guy, but it turns out he did some good things. And this is one of them. So they are basically uh, blind to their status
yeah,
as long as they qualify
yeah.
and fit the this program, which I guess is some kind of special needs program. It's some kind of
Hmm.
do good kind of thing where they're paying for college degrees, but the additional payoff is it actually is a pathway for them to become citizens of the Philippines after.
Yeah,
Okay, so shame on Malaysia for not offering bright students from this community the ability to go to university
Yeah.
or even a pathway to citizenship, you know?
Yeah.
So kind of straightforward, really. Uh, Here we are. And so they, that's what these kids were. They are doing IGCSEs, right?
Yep.
They're not doing it the way that a normal kid would do it, like, uh, form 5 to 7 or 8 or whatever.
Yep.
They're actually doing like 3 a year or 1 and then
Yeah.
2 and then I guess because they're also getting up to speed from a school point of view because these kids are not allowed to go to school. They don't have any rights here to go to school.
Yeah.
Um, so full kudos to Soraya's NGO, which when the first time I went to one of the school, there was a school in Kulai. I don't know if it's still there, uh, or I don't know if this is the same one. I mean, their focus was just literacy. They were just teaching people to read and write. And now they have a primary school, a secondary school, and this pathway to college. You know,
Mm.
the grooming kids to go to college. And
Yeah.
this is their third intake. Um, so that was kind of new, and then I also revert back to what are we trying to do with this program? And um, there's a few things. One is we teach nature-based solutions embedded in growing stuff,
Yeah.
understanding eating local and all these sort of things. Um, and also the techniques of that. We teach them how to grow things organically. We teach them about waste and ethics and stuff like that. Um, but we are also in this particular case because you know uh, we already did in our nature class and stuff like that because I find that we're teaching eco literacy, but the literacy part of it is also essential because teaching nature-based literacy actually involves teaching some vocabulary.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some
Yeah. Yeah.
vocabulary missing in
And it's context
because
as well. Yeah.
yeah, for every group, the children, the teens, the adults, they all need some kind of language,
Yep.
understanding of language being used in
Yep.
this category.
I
So we don't
agree.
want to teach that. But in their case, something else emerged because they were speaking so well, but then we discovered actually they weren't writing so well.
Yep.
We
Yep.
discovered
Yep.
that
Yep. Yep.
they were, and to me that I thought, oh, this is something that needs solving because they're moving from a high school education model to a university model. And I remember when I was doing that transition, the
Yep.
teachers were constantly telling me, this is not multiple choice anymore. You're writing
Yeah.
essays. You're communicating ideas now. It's not facts
Yeah.
anymore. You're not regurgitating facts. You're stringing them together into ideas. So
Mm.
we were doing that with them. We were asking them to write some technical information and then some subjective information. And then when we actually reviewed the notebooks, we saw that actually there was some disconnect. We were seeing some problems with that, and so we went back and gave them a little bit more context about what they need to
Mm.
learn and stuff like that. And then we gave them this and sort of got them ready to do their last project, which to write an essay. And the
Yep.
essay is called "The Good Citizen," which actually thread together everything that they learn. Because it's not just about learning mulching. It's like why
Yep.
why should you mulch? Why should
Yep.
you use organic manure? Because you want to make good decisions after. So
Yep.
and then based on that essay, we also had a individual review with them.
Yep.
Yeah, we had some feedback both ways.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think they took the feedback quite well, quite open heartedly.
yeah, at first I was a little scared. I was like, oh no, I've really upset them because I was
Right.
really like, I think because I was personally quite surprised after reading the books, their
Yep.
notebooks, that actually I thought their language was really good
Yep.
because they were talking to each other. And actually, I thought their
Yeah.
language was so good. You correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I thought they were better than your average Chinese student that age.
Mm, yeah.
Maybe in KL different, but in JB, a Chinese kid that age can. I've had university graduates who could speak that good English.
Right.
You know, they only do it to get through their university. They're not talking to each other in English.
Mm,
They find it quite hard to communicate in English.
mm.
And these guys were actually quite native in it. What did you think?
I feel like they were trilingual. They had
Yeah,
their
they
base
were truly were
language,
trilingual.
they had Bahasa, and they had English. And even their
Yeah,
Bahasa was very natural. It
it's
felt
very good. Yeah, it's very good. Yeah,
naturalized. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Couple of them even spoke like Malays. They were almost like as
yeah,
if they were
yeah,
two
yeah,
Malay
yeah.
kids.
If you
Yeah,
don't see them, you think they're Malays. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that to me is very impressive. And then when I saw the written uh com- composition and essay part of that, I was like, oh no, there's issues here. There were a lot of grammar issues, past tense, future tense, uh, plurals, all that was
Yeah, just
getting ready.
structure, writing structure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so back to the course, I thought that it was easy to do second because this was like the second time around we did it in this sort of 1 week thing.
Yeah.
How did you find it? How did you find your 2 days that you worked on it?
I feel like they were in some ways as refugee children were very sheltered from a lot of realities of the world, which is a good
Okay, I got to just hang on.
yeah.
My guy's coming. Just hang on.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so we were talking about how the actual program and the modules, and yeah, and then you made a good call. We need to now start to actually, we need to structure the text for those uh, modules. They're like working worksheets for those modules, so that
yeah.
we are next time we do it, it's a cheap sheet.
Yeah.
But yeah, what were you gonna say?
I
Did you?
I feel like one of the things is because they were quite sheltered, and that's a good thing. So like they didn't I think they were very shocked when we talked about ethics and we talked about child labor,
Mm,
about like, the importance of training staff when they're doing something which even as simple as putting fertilizer. So being wearing protection, uh a- putting correct application, they had never considered that even in farming there are hazards, and then we talked about other types of industries that, you can be a civil engineer, but, on a construction site, what are things that are important? So they were very sheltered from that labor perspective, and I think um when we discussed why is it a law that children cannot work and what kind of jobs do you think
mm,
children do. And yeah, so we talked about carpet weavers, and we talked about miners who are minors, you know and we talked about, and these are reality of children living in their home country but in slavery of whatever different types available in their place. And I think for them they were like very conflicted with the fact that we are refugees and we understand that we've been, driven away, but people in their own country, their parents are putting them through this kind of labor, and that's not fair or safe. And how children age, because they saw kids, they look small, but they actually were not as how to say, they looked how to say, they look old because of the stress and the strain. And we did discuss that, and
Yeah,
exposure.
they're in an interesting space because you where you said before that they were quite they weren't aware of some things. They're actually not that different from other teenagers their age who have never seen some of these. Some kids are actually so disconnected from outside natural world,
Yeah,
all these kind of processes, but they actually don't know how the world is working. How these things are being put together. So in some ways, they're actually like any other urban kid. I think what's different about them is actually they came at it seems as if their stories all are very similar. They came around 5 years old,
yeah.
right? And almost so now they're parents. So they actually came from so Rohingyas actually come from usually a rural part of Myanmar where
Mm-hmm.
they're generally homesteaders, you know. So if you talk to them, so they actually wrote a little bio piece about themselves uh and I've heard this from my other gardeners. They all
Yeah,
like have they grow vegetables, they have animals, they have fish in a pond. Uh Maybe they will exchange barter with another villager. Maybe they might take some into the city, somewhere to sell. But in
right.
general, they're basically sort of living off the land, which is quite interesting. So that is actually their background. But at the same time, since they came at 5, they don't really have a very strong grasp of that.
Right.
I'm trying to read whether they're just talking about their family's memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And rather than their own authentic memories. Because 5 is pretty young to remember all that stuff.
I think some when I read some of those things, I feel like some things they remember and some things they remember collectively, meaning that it is orally transmitted,
It's oral history. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I think that something it's okay that they remember what they remember and they share this memory, but what I feel about them and from interacting with them, it doesn't hinder them from pursuing different things. It doesn't stop them from dreaming the big dreams because we had amongst
Okay,
them who
which
wanted to
is
be architects, want
which
to
is
be
the third.
designers. They're
Okay,
looking
which
at.
is the third big disconnect with them. Actually, is almost all of their parents are working in the blue collar industry. The
Right.
construction workers, the agriculture workers. They're doing blue collar jobs.
Mm,
So for them to have a dream of a white collar college educated job,
mm,
it's a bit like transporting Malaysians back to the 1960s because now I'm interacting with kids whose parents are college educated. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe even second generation college educated.
And the thing is, right, the first bunch that went in 2022 have not yet graduated. So we've not
Yeah.
seen a full cycle of
Yeah.
someone from their community who has got a spot, survived the education process, got a job, and got their citizenship. So we've not seen a full cycle yet. So
Yeah.
it's still early
Also,
days.
I think there is no real interesting knowledge about what it means to get a degree. It's like, what do you want to be? Is not really so clear.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's a little bit. It's a bit like pin the tail on the donkey. It's kind of it's a mishmash of what maybe the teachers are telling them. Uh, because their parents suddenly don't have that information to give them.
yeah.
Unlike my parents are both college educated, so they are telling me, you should do, and then I'm also meeting their friends who are doctors and engineers. Blah, blah. I kind of have a sense of like, what people are doing. That's not their
Mm,
case. They actually are not interacting with that kind of
yeah,
professional class.
yeah, yeah.
So they don't really know what it means. So in some ways, so, for example, we got an example of someone to be an architect, uh, someone to be, actually some of them were very realistic. One wants to be a nurse. One wants to come back and work uh,
Be a lecturer.
for that.
Yeah. Be a
Yeah, one
lecturer,
wants to come back.
teacher. Yeah,
Teacher wants to be a teacher
yeah,
in their own community.
yeah.
One wants to come back and help the community, like social welfare situation. Uh, and one, I think the Whitesons of them was like, I don't really know. And I think that's a very, actually, that's quite a smart. understand it because she really was she really grasped it that she really didn't know.
Mm.
She needed more information, to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
get to that.
I think
Uh,
that's the interesting thing because you watch them as kids in limbo in that sense. They don't really have
yeah, yeah,
security, but
yeah,
they are ahead of a lot of the people in their community, and they know it. They
yeah.
understand.
They're definitely special. They're smarter.
Yeah, and they are very
They're something. Yeah,
exposed. So they do a
yeah,
lot of programs with international schools, with
yeah,
people from Singapore,
yeah,
with higher middle class Malaysians. So they are quite exposed to a lot of things that are privileges, and at the same time, they are also looking at their fellow Rohingyans in Cox's Bazar who are talking about how to say women's rights, who are singing the song of the people, like, hey, you know what, these are the things that we're fighting for, and this is how we're getting along, or this is what's happened since politics has changed this way. So they are in the thick of it. They're also looking at a lot of TikTok content, at like, some of them shared about what was it the comic thing, digital comics,
yeah, 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 yeah,
so
yeah.
they are looking, and they're consuming a lot of information. They know that they are uniquely different, and I think as they mature a little bit more, because they are still quite young, as they get into their 18-year old, as they start thinking about leaving, as maybe after they've left, a lot of these connections will start to form and develop their personality and their persona. And I think it will take a little bit of time for them to leave the safety to stuff out actually where they are in that grand scale of things. And because it's a lot of it is very controlled for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, you know, your environment is very influential on your development.
Yes.
So I mean, when I think of 17-year-olds who I've interacted with in the States, I've interacted with 17-year-olds at art college in New York City,
Yeah.
or who are trying to get a Fulbright scholarship, Lucent scholarship. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're at a very different level. I mean, I remember being shocked at some of these 17-year-olds
Yep.
like, trying to figure out, not trying to figure out, actually working on getting to university, choosing university, and the
Yep.
basis of their choice is there are lectures that are teaching that kind of engineering, a specific brand of engineering that lecturer is actually famous for.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I didn't have that kind of knowledge that needed also,
Yeah.
you know, I did just blew me away. You know, 80, I can't remember some very high percentage, 60% or something already had patents pending. I mean, we're talking about the brainiest brains that are getting this college. Uh, and then, even the art students, from on the fashion side, a lot of
Yeah.
them were already freelancing with fashion designers. Uh,
Right.
they were they were fluent in a variety of software, which,
Right.
I'm talking about 10 years ago, that they were actually teaching us. Like we didn't know how to do some things that they already knew how to do. I don't think they were just learning it at school. They already, they were doing it at school and in their spare time, and they're doing other stuff too. So that kind of level of sophistication of knowledge
Yep.
for someone their age, that was kind of missing here because their environment is not providing any of that.
Mm.
Their environment is at best a very traditional formatted. Go and
Yep.
get a degree in engineering or get it, something.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, and they didn't really seem to know a lot about uh, software that was
Yeah.
relevant to their field, right? I
Correct,
mean,
correct.
like
Like they didn't know
the
anything
ones
about
that,
SketchUp, Canva.
yeah, yeah,
uh,
exactly.
Did not have
I mean,
exposure
most
to
if
SketchUp.
anyone was thinking of doing that, at this age they would probably be fooling around with it. In fact,
Mm.
one of my architect friend, his 17-year-old son, is so good at SketchUp. He lets him do all the drawings.
But they do use CapCut, and I think one of the girls was sharing that she does have quite a following. I still don't know what the content she posts up is about,
Okay, but on
but
that
yeah, they do
point, I think
videos on CapCut. Yeah.
I think one of the things is that the tools they use are very phone based because that's what they have. They
Okay.
are not they are not like some rich middle class kid with a laptop and
Yeah, yeah,
iPad
yeah.
at them.
Yeah.
All they've got is their phone at
Yeah.
best, you know?
Yep.
And which is probably why they don't know about these others. And that's something we talked about with Soraya and said,
Yeah. They need
we're
access
gonna,
to
yeah,
desktop.
yeah, we'll give you a
Yep.
list of things that we think they need access to.
Yep.
We think they need access to a desktop computer because desktops
Yep.
work differently. And,
Yep.
you know, uh, a middle class kid in the States or Europe probably has his own computer at home.
Yep.
The next best situation, they share a family one.
Right.
And then if they actually are poor, they'll probably go to the one in the library. So
Mm-hmm.
all three don't exist for these guys. There isn't
Right.
desktop available
Yep. Yep.
in
Yep.
a library that they can just walk in and use for a project.
Right.
So that is something that we are going to put in the report to try to for them to access.
Yeah. I feel like there is also the other part where I ask them, like, do you guys create art? Do you do art? Do you do, like any form of art? And the immediate go-to response was, yeah, we make crochet stuff, but we make it for sale. And we enjoy making it for sale. So even the art is functional. There's still a very survival element to it. It's not expression, it is
Yeah.
functionality. Utilitarian, yeah, ism to it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's a Malaysian problem. Actually, the culture of creativity is so
Right.
poor here that when I first came back and there was I made friends with somebody who's running a market for young people.
Mm.
And when I went to look at the market, there was not a single creator. They were all traders. They were all buying and selling things.
Right,
Nobody was
right, right,
making
right.
something to sell. So this is already good that they're actually making crocheting something. I
Yeah.
mean, are they making something that they want to make
Mm.
using their own creativity and their own taste
Not
and all
really
that kind
lah.
of stuff?
Just
Not really. That maybe needs a more time for that to infiltrate
yep, yep,
whatever.
yep.
But I think one problem is we are not makers. We're not makers even in a non-creative way, not even technical makers. Not making like they're not like making like how these nerdy tech guys are making things. You know,
Right.
building their own computers or making little robots or whatever they're doing.
Yep.
There's just very, very little of that happening here. It's not like a thing that young people are influenced by an environment where everybody
Yeah.
is doing this and they're trying to keep up and compete, you know?
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, being a maker costs money, and that's that's
yeah,
part of that as well. You do need access to resources, and unless your school is like STEM heavy and your school has that kind of patron, and it,
mm,
it
yeah,
yeah, it's really quite hard to get into. So I
yeah,
think
and
the
also
digital maker could possibly be more a more likely space.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also a kind of an influence because I think that's the
Mm.
environmental pressures for them to do what most Malaysian kids are doing. They're just being consumers. They're just
Yep.
consuming TikTok and videos
Yep.
and
Yep.
other, content that's coming from somewhere else.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they don't seem to have a drive to really be
Yep.
making it themselves, to exert their presence. That requires, I think that requires maybe uh, that to be introduced into the environment. They need either
Mhm.
teachers that are going to encourage that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, that
Or it's
level.
like what Suraya said. It's about getting people who want to volunteer and do mentorship with the school.
Yeah,
So that could be an opportunity that is not necessarily a blind spot, but it's just a limitation for them to offer,
yeah,
all these extra things that to
yeah,
get consistency, to find people who are passionate and really
yeah,
genuinely
yeah,
want to stick around with them.
yeah. And also, just to really reference this against what Soraya was telling us, is I mean, you know what it's like when you're running your own NGO or
Yeah.
enterprise or organization. You're just stumbling into the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, your resources are spread thin on your budgets and
Yeah.
so I think they're just scrambling to get these kids into this program.
Yeah.
Uh, and we're suggesting all this fine tuning and
Yeah.
so yeah, so
Yeah.
okay,
It's
so that's
not
sort of
easy.
yeah. So we've sort of talked about them.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to talk a little about what in some of the feedback.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about actually what did this experience offer them
Mm.
um, in terms of learning or experience. So two things really stood out for me. I don't know if you had to go and do that other module, so you couldn't really listen
I
in on
wasn't
some of
in the
the
feedback.
feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But two things really stood out. One is actually almost all of them. I was like, "What did you like?" And I said, "What do you like?" and "What didn't you like?" So what they
Mm.
liked was they liked being in nature, and I was
Okay.
not surprised by that. But I was like, "Oh, I mean, you have any nature? I mean, most of them live in quite kampongy kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
situations."
Yeah.
Uh, but I think this idea of this very intentional, beautifully structured nature for you to enjoy, which
Yeah.
is my like my garden and my flower farm. I think that was something of a surprise to them, and
Right.
they liked it. They liked the idea that beauty matters, that design matters, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Did you get that read
Yeah.
about
Yeah. I
that?
think they enjoyed they
Just
enjoyed
stopping.
the aesthetics
Yeah,
of it. Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they didn't. They were not uncomfortable with being outdoors because our session was mostly outdoors.
Right.
But they also didn't really enjoy like the labor part of it. I feel like
They didn't like the labor, so that
that
was
was
the
what I was
almost
saying, that they're quite sheltered in that sense from the physical.
every single one of them
Yeah.
didn't like the labor, which I was
Yeah.
surprised because I thought maybe as children of blue collar workers, the parents would make them do more labor. Like one of them, the
Right.
mother has a dairy farm.
Yeah.
I know she doesn't do anything with her. I mean, she's not tasked to do anything. And I wonder if that is also intentional by the parents. The parents are kind of like, okay, we want you not to do this. We want you to
Yeah.
concentrate on that. Maybe
I
it's
think because
intentional.
that particular individual was for a certain period of time not living with the family. She was married off. So she didn't
Sure.
live with her mom, and I think it was her mom's income stream. So the dad does other things but helps the mother. So it's really the
Sure.
mother's project, this little
Yeah.
cereal farm. But I think in one of her essays, she did say that her siblings, her brothers, would go and collect the
Uh,
seedlings from the forest. So,
all right.
she knows about it, but she doesn't do it. She's not a part of it. She's not someone her mother relies on to pluck the leaves, because she's very clear about saying that she understands it, meaning that she knows that her mom will make stacks, and certain stacks sell for 5 ringgit, certain stacks sell for 15 ringgit. So she knows the transactional value of it. And she also knows that sometimes there's too much production in the marketplace that people don't buy. And then her mother will just take all of that sireh and, lack of the word compost, basically just throws it down into soil again, and turns it in again. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think she
You know,
she she
the I
knows more than she writes about. Yeah.
but the other interesting thing was there are glimmers of connections with their actual heritage and culture, which is
Right.
nature based. Like they can make some connections with their food, some of the herbs. Just I just go on uh, a side road for a minute and say that
Yeah.
uh, one great thing about this program also is that, and this is also what I like to do is
Hmm.
I like it to generate other opportunities. So, usually we offer the kids a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
We do a plant-based meal and then we teach them about that. But I thought this was just a bit too much for them. I don't know. I didn't really know enough about them. So I decided that my gardener has recently just got married and his
Right.
wife is actually quite a good cook. And for some reason,
Okay.
she's always giving me stuff.
Right.
Every few days, she sends me a little thing and it's like, wow, really good. She's a good cook. So I
Right.
said to her, would you be interested in cooking
Hmm.
for these kids? And then we obviously pay her to do it.
Yeah.
And she was interested. So
Okay.
she actually cooked for 6 days. I mean,
Yeah.
she
I
was
I,
only
I
to
ate
cook.
I ate I think two of
Yeah,
the meals, and it was quite
yeah,
nice. Yeah.
yeah. Very nice. Yeah. And the kids recognized it, and it's much more natural than maybe a lot of what Malaysian kids are eating. Malaysian kids are eating a lot more Western food these days,
Yeah.
you know. And although these kids are not completely uh, not knowledgeable what pizzas and
Mm.
burgers, they were also quite happy with their traditional diets and it's quite specifically Rohingya. I mean, there is a difference in
Yeah.
Rohingya cuisine that is different from Indian cuisine or Malay cuisine.
Yeah. 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 He had a very distinct, like its
It's
own.
like a soupy, stewy. Uh, they like things spiced with green chili and
Yeah.
pepper. It's
And
quite
turmeric.
soupy and a lot of turmeric.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it was kind of nice actually. I
So I
kind
guess
of
in a way,
enjoyed it.
the meats did influence the flavor profile a little bit. Yeah.
Leila, Leila, wait, Leila. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. The meats, I would say flavor the dish a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was quite impressed that she was quite capable, uh, maybe a little over budget, not over order. We all over ordered, which is why we ended up eating it for six
Yep.
days because it was only been for 3 days, but we actually had so much meat
Yep.
stuff that we actually s- sort of floated over 6 days. Um, so one great development on the side was she only recently came, I think just a few years ago. So
Right.
she can't speak Malay or English very well. Uh, um, so when she came and she's 18, she herself is young, right? And
Right.
she sees all these, actually there was a lot of girls in this group. There were more
Yeah.
girls
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
boys. It was
Yeah.
like 60-40, right?
Yeah.
Um, so when she saw all these kids speaking English to each other, I think that kind of
Mhm.
blew her away a little bit.
Yeah. I
And
think she was very excited to see that these kids who are not half her age, they were like maybe eight
they were
years
close.
younger than her, you know.
Yeah,
It wasn't that far, but they had
yeah,
such an opportunity in life to be
yeah,
totally different,
yeah.
and I think
So,
she just proud of that. Yeah.
no, and you know what? One of the first things she said after she was introduced to them, she turned to her husband, who turned
Mm-hmm.
to me to say she wants to learn English.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've immediately now we're talking with Shamla to figure out how we're going to do that, and that's a huge outcome because for 2 years before that, with my other gardeners, I could not get them to bring their wives to for the literacy class.
But I think this couple is also a little bit more modern than the previous one. I would say
Different, right?
modernization is happening within 2-3 years of gap. It's not a whole generation of gap. So it's like how technology cycle is getting shorter and shorter. I think the evolution of people's understanding, adaptation, perception is also happening within smaller generational gaps. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite
So
interesting. Yeah.
that was a great side outcome. Then the other sort of interaction was, Alam is also, Rohingya, and he's in his 20s. So he also got an opportunity to see this is something it's quite hard to convince my other brothers that, if you can't do it, let your children do it, let them go to school. It's like, and
I
this
think
was
he
like a,
enjoyed coaching them,
yeah,
So as they went off to do assignments that he would like supervise, or he would
yeah,
then give them tasks to do. You
yeah,
can see the way he spoke to them, the way they picked up the work. Yeah, there was a very nice vibe between like,
yeah, yeah.
him and the kids, and yeah, vice versa.
And
It
then
was very
another
good.
interesting about the community, it is really, really networked.
Mm.
So Alam knew that this one kid's name was coming because he worked at the center. And then he also said, "Oh, that girl, her father is the brother of Ibrahim who works here for us sometimes."
Ah,
So yeah, yeah, but that
and
word
yeah,
had
uncle works for you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that word had already penetrated the network. that they
Right.
were coming here for the week, So that was quite interesting. Okay, so now moving on to the actual, let's say they generally like they like the nature thing.
Mm.
Uh, they didn't like the work thing. So they really struggled. They didn't like the labor part of it because, I mean, I have to say, I felt that I wanted them to do some labor because, we've had university kids before.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of biased. It's based on my own experiences that when I did labor in the UK, I worked in a factory.
Yeah.
That was that was the first time I actually thought to myself, okay, I know I'm getting a degree, so I don't have to do this, and I kind of wanted them to have that as a little bit of a spur for them. And I don't know if that made them think that way, but they saw that, oh, and then, we also had conversation about it. Like, actually, I had two conversations about it in reference to my gardener, Alan. I said,
Mm.
first of all, this is what he does all day. You have to do it for less
Like,
than half of the
sure.
day
Yeah.
and quite lightly. We don't really make it work that hard. He has to hustle the whole day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the way he learns how to do it is very different from how you're going to learn it. We're going to teach
Yeah.
you the how and the why and the whatever. When I'm teaching Alam to do, I'm actually saying do this. He doesn't understand why he's doing it. He's just doing it.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we just keep him doing it over and over again until it gets osmosed into his everyday behaviors, you know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And that's how he learns. And then he starts to make connections. Oh, you know what? If you cut this a bit shorter, it works better. And, so I get some feedback from him about things like that. So that they didn't like.
Yeah.
And then I thought what was surprising is what they didn't know. They really didn't know what we taught them about organic methods like mulching,
Yeah.
composting, fertilizing. So when they were writing their write up, that was a consistent theme that they really didn't know that this was something that did. You know.
Yeah.
And then
I think that could
the
also be just uh educational focus. So what they're learning in school is more like practical things to like maths and science.
just cultural. I mean, I find
Yeah.
that actually English kids are very good at gardening because they're doing it their whole lives with their parents.
Mm.
They're collecting seed, they're planting seed in the winter, they're propagating stuff, along with their parents. Their parents were sort of teaching them along the way. So they're actually quite knowledgeable about gardening
Mm.
compared to a lot of Malaysian kids who would probably never do it.
They also
So
probably don't have the space to do it.
no space
You
to,
know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
It's a
that
luxury.
limitation is there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a luxury. I mean, we had a conversation about growing flowers. It's like growing
Yeah.
flowers is such a privilege and a luxury.
I mean, they want to grow
Like,
tulips and strawberries, right? When they thought you can grow anything.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's both a disconnect and then there's also this sort of, if I'm going to
Curiosity.
grow something, I'm going to grow vegetables and herbs for my food.
Ah,
I've
yeah,
got to
yeah,
put things on the table.
I
It's
mean,
like
I
these
think we
two.
did talk about how do people traditionally stay well and what do they
Yeah.
eat, which is from their garden. I think it took them a little bit to filter through the what they thought was medicine and then get to the point that, oh yeah, for coughs we do this, for colds we do this.
Right.
And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's not that it doesn't
Okay, so
exist.
I think
It just took a
that
little
is
bit of push.
that's why they differ a little bit from Malaysian kids. Malaysian kids are almost getting zero of that.
Mm.
They're not really seeing a lot of that. Oh, I eat this leaf from the garden and it's going to help my cough.
Yeah.
They're really not seeing that at all because,
So,
for an urban, middle class, rich kid, particularly, that's just going to the drugstore or the chemist or buying something over the counter. There is no connection with like natural remedy or
yeah.
very little in any case.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so there
I
was
guess
a lot of that. Yeah.
mhm.
Sorry.
No, I guess also it is one of the boys was saying that there are many things that they consume from where they were because they were like a hill region type people, elevation much higher.
Yep, yep,
So there were things
yep.
that were more available there that are not available here. And I don't know. I'm curious if they have access to that in the future. Would they? Because you see this in the US, right? People are going back into history to look for old recipes for wild plants and wild herbs that sustain communities, right? Maybe this will be something that will come out in the future. Where a kid will go back and look at that landscape that they grew from and start seeking those foods and those remedies. So yeah, I
You
think
know, that's an
introducing
interesting
them was
point. That's an interesting point because this is something I dealt with my gardeners.
yeah,
Who are different from these kids, right? So my gardeners who uh, I was dealing with three or four, especially with like wellness issues, with a few
yeah,
things. One is, at one end, if they were literate, they literally didn't understand what the doctor is diagnosing. They're just
right,
doing stuff, and they don't know prescription or diagnosis or stuff like that. I've
yeah,
actually I've been to a pharmacy where I've seen like immigrant workers. I don't know if they're running this. I've
yeah,
seen the pharmacist. Can you please give me a drug for my something or other? And the pharmacist going, I can. You have to go to see a doctor. So even the understanding about what pharmacists do, what doctors do, what are control
yeah,
medicine, uh, all that kind of stuff is actually a big old blur to them. So
yeah.
one of the jobs that I would do with my garden is actually help them navigate that. I would always say, please give me a diagnosis and bring me your drug so I can see. Then I
Yeah,
can see, oh, you're getting antibiotics or pain medication.
yeah,
So it's like, I know what's wrong with you.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's just very vague terminology for them to describe stuff.
yeah,
And then I would teach them things like, about prescription medicine and generic medicine. For
yeah.
example, Osman had sinusitis, so he needed to take a antihistamine every day, basically. And so you need to go buy a generic one that's cheaper. There's actually a lot of, there's a
I
lot of
have a local guy here, local Malay guy. Yeah. I don't know what's the root of which he is learning this and sharing this remedy. So one of my guys has very bad infectious like
the
smelly.
skin one you're telling me about.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So my other guy, who's a Malay guy from Sherating, he's saying you have to eat 3 baby lizards about that big.
Oh my god.
And he says, like, just swallow it, just swallow it. And then he will all go
Oh,
away. I'm thinking like, oh, okay. So, I'm like, that does not compute. I don't know what is in the lizard that you are consuming. It's just really weird. But yeah, Malay. He's Malay, and he has this remedy that he is standing true to because apparently he had it before and it worked for him. I have no way to verify this. I've never heard this remedy
yeah,
before. So
yeah.
yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, so there is this navigating of just over conventional medicine, which they need.
Yep,
I mean, and for example, like even like small fixes, for example, they only know how to buy paracetamol.
yep.
So one of them, Hafiz, used to get quite bad headaches. I think he had some kind of nerve problem that would actually he had the pain of the nerve, and the pain would actually trigger like a migraine. So I taught him to buy what's the
Ibuprofen?
one ibuprofen, like a stronger dose, like 400 milligrams.
Yeah.
And the next day he was like, "Oh my god, it's like a miracle." It's
It
like
kills the pain receptor, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So and then teach him how to buy the generic one. So these are all like this is all like
Learning
learning
steps.
that they
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
At the same time, they are also navigating this natural world. Okay, I've been like Osman. We've been when we went to do some project. He said, "Oh, can you stop here? I need to go and dig this up." And he was digging, and he said, "I want the roots for this, which is a medicine." So
Right.
they have their own knowledge of
Yeah.
sort of folkloric medicine, and then they also have some crazy misinformation ideas about
Don't they
medicine.
all?
fueled by the internet. So some days I get requests on the, oh, can you buy this for me on the internet? And I go look at it. It's some crazy shit. It's like, why are you buying this? You know?
Going around on WhatsApp. Yeah.
So, in a way, this is actually, we're also sort of putting together the building blocks of our world here. There's some realities here about
I
kind of
think
modern
you
world.
spend a little bit of energy on explaining to them that in college you need to write better. And I think they had never been tasked to that. So now that they're thinking about a lot of new things, and I think we did ask them what kind of
Yeah,
books they read and stuff like that. I
yeah,
think now, as they sort through what they know and what they don't know and what they want to know, I
yeah,
think they may lean towards writing it down to give themselves like a gauge of where they're going.
yeah.
Because I think
Okay, so
they,
this
yeah,
last section we're gonna talk about that because that was actually our big thing at the end. We were like,
yeah,
oh, we've got to fix this, and then we gave them some feedback about how many words they need to write for
yeah,
essay, all that stuff. Gave them some structure, and then we gave them an assignment, and it was called they had to write an essay called "A Good Citizen."
yeah,
And in that essay, they were actually going, because the other thing I like them to do is I want them to recall what happened. So this is supposed to summarize their week, like using what you've learned, how you're going to transition that into your ability to be a good citizen. Uh,
yeah,
which I thought was a bit of a tough call, given that I thought there was some problems in their the language comprehension skills. But I was
yeah.
actually quite surprised. I think once there was this like little bit of a earthquake of like earth shift about okay, we've got to get serious about this. When I got the essays back, there was a lot more, they were a lot better than the
Mm,
little bits that they've been writing. And so I actually selected four of them. Thanks
yeah,
to Google Lens for handwriting into text
yeah. Typing it out
and
loud.
turning that. So did you get to read them?
Yeah, I did. I think the Hafiz wrote a nice one. I think it was
Hafiz, Hafiz essay
Fazil.
blew me away because
Yeah.
he just
It's very
ticked
thoughtful.
every box. Huh?
Yeah, I would say it's very
What?
thoughtful. Yeah.
No, and also he got it right. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what? The first thing he got right, he said, though he opened the essay with, "What this week taught me was." That's
Mm,
what I wanted him to. That's what I wanted.
right.
And nobody, and none of them did. The others did a more abstracted about all the
Okay.
subjects.
I need to just one sec.
Okay.
One sec. Okay. Di lang sir. Oh, di lang. Di lang.
So while we're waiting, I'm going to put a link to those essays, which is going to be under a post called "A Good Citizen." And I'll suggest everyone, if you take a read of it, and in particular, the top one Hafiz is the one I think is the best. Yeah,
Right,
so
right.
I thought Hafiz is first of all he understood the assignment,
Yep.
and then he actually balanced the assignment really well.
Mm.
Because the other thing that I saw that they weren't doing, which we then told them to do it, structure it based on the curriculum. Go back and look at your syllabus
Yes,
plan,
which you did like yeah.
and they started to do that. But he actually did it really, really well. He also, I think, really grasped certain concepts really well as well.
Did they submit it to you before they left that same day?
Sorry? Yeah,
Did they? So
they did.
the other thing that Hafiz had to balance out was the
Oh,
fact that he stopped.
yeah, he had to go and help.
Okay,
He had to go and
he
help.
went
Yeah,
out to get lunch.
yeah,
Then he came
yeah,
back and he finished the assignment
yeah.
without us having
He
to
did.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really
Very
like
different.
his essay was not too long
Yeah,
and not
it's
too
sort of
short.
yeah.
It was very, very, it was really a much higher quality than I think. The three others were sort of
Not
notable
bad. They were
mentions.
not bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
But he was just a little
and
bit
his
of, yeah, more
and his
advanced.
is definitely like an A. So
Yeah.
we'll have to figure out what he gets for as a reward for that. And I also wanted to reward Shakira for actually beautiful drawing.
Yeah.
I think we should reward creativity and other skills besides text writing.
Yeah.
Uh, because there's need for illustration and visual
And she's the
skills
one
and
who
stuff.
said upfront, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, she's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
But yeah, but actually, all her work was actually very neat, very
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
It was really, really good content.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that was quite good. And then the others they were like good for some reasons and not so good for other reasons, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Some of them were.
Yeah.
But they kind of got there. They kind of got there. And I wanted to sort of do, okay, these are the best, because I kind of wanted them to understand this idea of some they're competing for something in life,
Yeah.
and they have to understand. And I wanted them to see what we think is good as well.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, so that is good. So now I have to create a feedback loop to the school. Oh, and something I got to pick up on is, you said about reading. I don't think they're reading enough. They're not consuming enough high quality material that helps knowledge building. So they are not reading as much as maybe you and I read in our childhood that made us write essays quite easily. You
Mm-mm.
know,
But they were reading
sentences.
interesting things. I think there's a combination of access. Like one of the girls was saying she read the first Harry Potter book, wanted to read the second one, but just didn't have access to it. So it's not a lack of
Yeah, yeah,
interest.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
Yeah,
access.
I'm not
Yeah.
questioning the reasons why they didn't, but
Yeah.
comparatively, the amount that you and I read before we got to
Yeah.
university,
Yeah.
quite different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even then, I'm going to university, and there are people better than me. I mean, they're more,
Yeah.
they're much more, So, uh, and I think also it's worth mentioning, why we pull out someone like Hafiz thing is because that's what's going to happen in real life. They're going to go to university, and there will be two-star students that they're going to have to deal with, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're
I
just
think
going to,
that's a reality that they will have to size up against other people, and I
yeah,
think
yeah.
all of us went through that when we went to
We
school.
all went through that, and then you have to figure out where do you fit, and how are you going to run to just get to the middle part,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I was a lazy student at university. I
Mm.
was clever, but I was lazy. I would do the minimum amount of work to just get there, and I'm like, why would I want to break my back and go all that way? Because I don't know if this is what I want to do.
Mm.
I did an economics degree. I kind of didn't know whether that's really what I was kind of, really no idea what to, what degree to get. And, that wasn't a, a very intuitive or native choice for me to did it. What did you do aeronautical engineering? Because that's a pretty
I mean, yeah,
specific thing to
lab
go
work,
after.
it's workshop works, reading, writing, learning about science, sorry, physics and fluid dynamics. So there's a lot of math involved. Yeah. So there's some things you read to understand the theory or how it came about or how do you test for it, and then you have to actually do it, and then you have to measure a lot of things. So there's that, and then there's doing the numbers for it, trying to problem solve from a mathematical point of view. So like when I was teaching the kids, I asked them, so today is a bit of a how to say, a cool day. It wasn't very hot and it was in the morning, and my topic was fertilization, watering, and pruning, I think, that session in the morning. So I asked them, how much water do you think we'll need today compared to yesterday? And how much do you water yesterday, and what is how much reduction will we do today? And then they were really struggling to tell me, I can change the volume of the flow, I can change the duration of the watering, I can maybe instead of dripping, I can do how to say um when you let out the droplets, but you broadcast
Yeah,
it.
like how much? Is it a big sprinkler or
Yeah.
is it a little drip?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So like a mist sprinkler, yeah. So then, I went through that with them. And I'm like, so yeah, so the farmer will have a preset when, okay, if the day is like super hot, they know they're gonna water an extra one round. Because they cannot go on for like more than 5 minutes. If not, it will just soak and it won't have time to sink. Then, so they do it twice or three times. Or that one extra time makes a difference. And then they may also mulch a little bit more. So all these things are to facilitate comfort for the plant. And
yeah,
when I talked about like volume of flow and I talked about duration, I think for the first time they were like, oh, okay, you can actually do quite a lot of things to automate, to keep automating the system as
yeah.
opposed to have a human
Sure,
intervention.
sure.
Yeah,
I
no,
think you talked about robots with them. I remember, which is
yes,
also
we
quite
talked about
interesting. Yeah,
agricultural technology, and we talk about
yeah,
what are sensors and what are drones and what is the difference in terms of the capacity of labor, human labor, and using a machine, and what are the risks around it. So I think some things they knew theoretically, they would have seen it in a video or something, but until it
sure.
was discussed, it wasn't real. So I think that was really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, just on that point, it's quite interesting because I have this one problem with Alan, my gardener guy,
Mm,
and it's about watering. He's always complaining that the drip system in the rose garden
okay.
is too slow. It's too slow. He doesn't like it. It's like very slow, the water coming out. And I'm
Mm,
like, okay. And it's hard for me to really get him to understand that the reason we use the drip is because the roses don't like overhead spray, which is delivers a lot more water, you know.
yeah, yeah,
But when you deliver a lot more water, you actually create a lot more moisture on the plant, which is something that's not good for roses. It actually gets them more prone to disease because they're prone to fungal disease. So you actually don't want them to get wet at all. So that's
yeah,
why you want at a ground level
yeah, yeah, yeah,
some kind of watering system. And
yeah,
then he also doesn't understand that the rate. So I keep saying, just leave it on for longer.
yeah,
So that it drips like that, it will penetrate, but actually more of it is going to penetrate
yeah,
down.
yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
if you put a high volume thing
Volume.
for a short time, it's only hitting the surface, and
Yeah,
it actually makes the plant send roots back up, which actually
yeah. It doesn't
you
really
know,
do the job.
screws,
No, I
screws
think
up the plant.
one of the
Yeah,
things like if you did a garden lab process is to
yeah,
when so you have a drip line and then you have a container and then you
yeah.
let them run the drip line for a longer period of time and a
Oh,
shorter
just
period
to
of time.
collect the water, just to
Yeah, and just
understand how much
measure the
volume.
difference. Just a visual
Yeah.
measure, and then do one where you have you turn on the tap full and you turn it on the tap half, but for the same amount of time. And then they can then see like, oh, okay, so this is how
Yeah.
experiments are conducted. Because I think to a
Well,
large
also,
extent,
I think people don't understand, especially in my business.
yeah,
We're not monocropping one crop and it's on. We're doing
yeah,
many different kinds of things.
yeah, yeah.
This
So
one
they
is
all
actually
need different,
they all need, yeah. So this one we have to adjust the medium, more sand, so more water runs off
yeah.
quickly.
And that's
It
why
doesn't want
there's
to be fitting.
few people
Yeah.
doing what you do, if any. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's much more complex. So it's actually quite challenging to teach somebody new all this stuff. Like, why do we need this pot sitting in a very damp salt and yet not in water? Because actually we have a lot of like greens that are typical of Southeast Asia
yeah,
that like to be on the riverside,
yeah,
like Buremi and Siloam and stuff like that. They actually love being near a river where there's water, it's constantly moist, but they don't really like to be in water. It
right.
actually rots their roots,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stagnant
They just
water
kind
and
of
all
like
that.
to skirt around the side. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So we had to sort of recreate that. So what we actually do is we put them in salt pots and put them in a much more porous medium. So water runs away much more efficiently. It's quite complicated actually, but you
hang
know
on, I
what?
just need to
We, yeah.
yeah, yeah, keep talking. I just need to Fadil, boleh bagi Villa C tak? Dia tak boleh masuk, kunci dia tak tak function. Maybe bawa WD-40 Vilasi yang tadi tu, yang the Indian guy tu. Bila-bila. Sebab dia WhatsApp kat saya si. Sorry. Okay, thanks. Okay, bye. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually we're up on an hour. So just to wrap up, I think my next job is now to prepare a report for the school
Yeah, okay.
to understand what is our feedback, and
I think
so
like how she wants to have mentors come in and coach the kids. Maybe a suggestion would be to, I don't know how they reach out to their base, but maybe it's
yeah,
something that she can open up to people within her community.
I feel like that's a tougher call than just fixing some easier
Yeah.
variable.
Yeah.
Number one is I think their library needs to be I don't know what the content of the library is,
Yeah.
but I think that the library needs to be somewhere that they actually can get stuff. Maybe it needs to be activated and programmed and curated. That means they must read 5 books a year.
Yeah.
Must write an essay about, choose the book to write an essay. Someone's assessing their comprehension of how much they're actually taking in, because that seems to be missing. They're not reading enough. I
Yeah.
feel so that it's not giving them enough language skills, and it's not giving them some construction skills,
Right.
and then sort of just broader knowledge and ideas. I think that's an easy fix. That's a management thing. They need to just manage the library resource a little bit better.
Yeah.
Maybe put in a desktop that is available to them to be used for their own projects or projects. They just have to book them in or something like that.
Yeah.
So a reading program, reading availability, and
I mean,
then
the apps
and
and
then
the
and then
technology.
the software.
Yeah,
The
software.
software, we need to give them a list of a software that's really relevant to some of the choices they're thinking of doing, that they want to do. Like, if they want to do architecture or landscape, I think like that, they need to do SketchUp or something like, or CAD, which is
Yeah.
expensive, but SketchUp is definitely a first step. And then there's someone to do design, and they've never heard of Photoshop or Illustrator, which is crazy. Because that is like primary, you really know how to do that. Illustrator, maybe fashion designer,
Yeah.
you really need to know. You must know how to draw on a computer, otherwise there's a so tools. Wait. Uh, oh yeah, then you raised this, which I think is a great idea. They need a career counselor,
Mm.
because the gap between a 16-year-old's idea of
Yeah.
what
Of what's out there. Yeah.
and actually what's going to happen. Because the other thing is it's complicated by pathway to citizenship law, all that stuff. They need
Funny
someone to
thing,
help.
you mentioned that. I was in
Yeah.
KL for like 2 days. And then I had guests who stayed here over a period of time, and one of the kids had brought her friends to come for the holiday here with her family. And she asked if I was available and in Bausa yesterday. I met them yesterday, day before yesterday, if I could meet up. So I said yes. So we met up with them, and basically she's like, "Can you would you coach us? We want to do this like project thing." And I'm like, "Okay, like that's very out of the blue." But basically, her whole interest was because I made Rimba, and she and her friend, they're animators, and they wanna do a project, and they don't like the faculty that they got to do their project under. So they just want somebody else to come in and just kind of like coach them through some of the things. And I mean, this is something that just came out of the blue. I don't really know what they want me to do, but finding mentors and coaches are something that I think has been very important for me as an individual as well, because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really important to have someone watch you grow. Because sometimes your
Yeah.
parents don't really understand the work that you do, but your mentor is in a field that you are working in or
Yeah.
around. And for them
Yeah.
to see you grow from bout to bout is really important for your confidence, for your sense of like achievement,
Yeah.
because
I
your
agree.
clients are just your clients. They only see you at one point of your presence, but a
Mm.
mentor would see you through a longer period of time. So I felt having that conversation with them and like remembering what you just said. Yeah, it's really quite important.
Actually, I didn't ask you, how did your Rimba session go? Because that was not, it was not edible education. And I was
Yeah,
just
it's
curious,
nature class. Yeah.
what was their reaction to
That was good.
engage it?
Um, they really enjoyed playing, and they couldn't play the full game because they had to leave. And so we're sending them a deck for them to put in their resource room or whatever.
Okay.
Uh, they liked the idea that the animals had a place. The animals belonged in an ecosystem.
Ah,
The animals were
ah.
related through a
So
food
you
chain.
think this was a newer concept for them?
Yes.
Because I mean, like, it is, it is. I mean, like when we teach, we're trying to teach. I actually use words like wild citizen. You know
Mm.
that
No, but I
that
think
they
for them
are
it's the fact
actually
that the animal came from a particular locale. It is found higher in the canopy, or it is living in, on a tree. I think the fact that they read the information cards and it said that the animals are found in certain areas, it felt like that those animals had a place, and then they had a food chain around that. And that's when I explained habitat. And then I did an exercise with them where they could understand what was the cornerstone species. So we moved around and we killed off certain characters,
okay.
and then the whole network collapsed. And
Oh,
then they
interesting.
realized, oh, it's connected, and they could be
Right.
anything. Yeah, and that I think they found that very interesting to be able to have that
Yeah.
metaphoric perspective of
Yeah.
a living system. Yeah. So yeah.
So just to wrap up, I mean, in some ways, I feel quite enthused to see these kids. I mean, they were so bright. They had such lovely manners. Do you know what I mean? They were really. They seemed to have. They were very thoughtful and had really nice manners in talking to you,
Yeah.
and they were confident. Like
Yeah.
if they needed more time, they would ask for it. It's
Yep.
not like they were too frightened to. They were
Yep.
too afraid of authority or stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
So it was quite a hopeful thing to see that they're you it's changing. It's like
Yeah.
uh, it's just the system has an ability to change. And they will pull others with them.
Yep.
And
Because
I
many
think
of
that's
them have multiple siblings. They're like either in the middle or the top
yeah,
end of the ladder. And,
yeah,
like we met several siblings in that group.
yeah,
And they will then continue to rub off on each other and influence their younger siblings and stuff, or people from their
yeah,
school who like similar things. So I think, yeah, if anything, it was a spark in the dark. And yeah, it will continue lighting up more things.
yeah. So now we are now stage two of edible etiquette. We've taught children, we've taught uh, teenagers with quite a functioning intellect, so that we
Yeah.
were actually talking at a level quite different from when we were doing with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So now we have to think about the next category, which is actually fully grown adults who think they're smarter than everybody else, right? Corporate
Ah,
professionals who, I know will not know many of these things, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be good.
Yeah. That's a conversation for
Okay.
another day.
All right. Hey, it was good to see
Maybe.
you. And
Yes.
so tomorrow, Susan and Shamala are coming over for Christmas dinner. We'll have a small
Nice.
little dinner thing, and
I
we'll
really
raise our
miss you
glass.
guys. So I've
Yeah.
two Swiss families here and another one that's staying like maybe like 20 minutes away. So they're
Yeah.
organizing dinner tonight, which is kind of nice because they in Europe they celebrate on the 24th. So yeah, so we'll do Christmas tonight and then we'll do Christmas again tomorrow.
Right. All right.
All right,
Good
bye.
talking to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you too. Bye.